Welcome to the Chiropractic Mindset Mastery Podcast, hosted by Dr. Danny Scahill. Dr. Danny is a doctor of chiropractic, a best-selling author, coach, speaker, and trainer. On the Chiropractic Mindset Mastery Podcast, he interviews other experts so you can glean further insights to help you on your journey to chiropractic mastery.
Welcome to this episode of the Chiropractic Mindset Mastery Podcast. We've got another fantastic guest for you today, Dr. Liam Schubel. Dr. Liam is a chiropractic ambassador to the world. He's co-author of 2 internationally acclaimed books. His first book, Cast to be Chiropractors, is an inspirational story that illustrates 2 chiropractors' lifelong journey to passionate service to humanity through the practice of chiropractic. His second book, The Holy Grail of Chiropractic Business, The Holy Grail of Business, has been called by many the fundamental textbook for chiropractic business success. Doctors and students from the world seek out his business expertise in his private mentoring group, Schubel Vision Elite. Many claim he has the Midas touch when it comes to chiropractic business success. He currently owns 33 chiropractic offices in 3 different countries. Dr. Schubel served for 8 years on the Board of Trustees for Sherman College of Chiropractic as Vice Chairman. He also served as President of the International Federation of Chiropractors Organizations, that's a mouthful, that one, whose goal is to bring vertebral subluxation-centered chiropractic to the world. His home base is in his hometown of Freehold, New Jersey, USA, where he resides with his wife, Herinda, and his youngest children, Star and Sky. The Schubelnator, as he is affectionately known by many on the international speaking circuit, is unstoppable when it comes to bringing vertebral subluxation-centered chiropractic to the world. Welcome to the CMM podcast, mate. How are you doing?
Great, Dr. Danny. I thought that introduction would last a full hour, but I guess we have to do some talking as well.
Indeed. So tell us about your journey, mate. How did you get to where you are today?
Right. So from the time I was a child, I knew I wanted to help people. I didn't know how. At first, I thought I was called spiritually to be a priest, a Catholic priest. I grew up Catholic. And then I found out you couldn't get married, and there were no women involved with that. So I said, okay, forget that. That's not for me, because I do enjoy God's creation of women. So then I said, let me be a medical doctor. Maybe I'll go investigate the medical profession. And I started to work in a hospital. And this is the advice I'd have for anybody that is lost as to what they want to do. Try different things out and actually, work with people that are doing what it is you think you might want to do. And what I found out was I didn't want to be a medical doctor, because what I found in the hospitals were, sure, they were saving lives, no question, in questions of, extreme trauma and extreme limitations of matter. But in so many of the cases, when I was watching these people, they were getting sicker and sicker. And they were on more and more medication, and they weren't coming out of it. So I just said, this is depressing. So I didn't want to do that, and I really was lost. My mom started to get very sick. She had what they diagnosed as bilateral bursitis, and my mom is like the Energizer Bunny. I mean, even in her 80s now, she can probably outwork most people. She is unbelievable. She's unstoppable. And I think I get a little bit from that from her. And she basically got to the point where she was laying in bed all day, which is kind of like a death sentence for us. The ability, you can't do anything. Our whole life is about doing something. So every time she moved, she said it felt like somebody was stabbing her in the shoulder. And I remember that feeling, and I still remember it every time a new patient comes in. I remember that feeling of being her son and feeling completely inept, completely paralyzed with fear and concern and worry and the inability to do anything. And, we're taking her, it's the classic story, we're taking her to all the doctors. She's on this pill, now she's on another pill, now she's doing injections, now they're thinking about an operation. And, one day, a crazy friend of hers said, "Why don't you go see the chiropractor?" And Danny, they used to call me crazy also until I became wealthy. Now they call me eccentric. Just so you know, there's a difference between crazy and eccentric.
Oh, sure.
So the crazy friend says, "Go see the chiropractor." And my mom, I'll never forget this. My mom says, "What are you, crazy? Why would I go see the chiropractor? I don't have neck pain or back pain. I've got bilateral bursitis. What's the doctor going to do for me? He works on the spine. How is that going to have any effect on the shoulders?" And she says, "Well, how's traditional medicine working out for you?" And she says, "Well, you got a point there." She goes, "I keep taking more and more pills and I'm getting worse. Like I started with this bilateral bursitis. Now I have bilateral bursitis. Now I've got gastritis. Now my liver function is off. Like it's like I'm dying little by pill by pill." Goes to see the chiropractor. And again, I'll never forget this. The chiropractor was an upper cervical practitioner. He was a Sherman graduate. His name was Dr. Robert E. Lee. And he did what was called a toggle adjustment. And if you've ever seen it, it looks like it's in the upper cervical region. It's in the upper part of the spine on the neck. And when you deliver that toggle adjustment, it really does look like you're giving a karate chop to the side of the neck of the patient. And I remember when he did that in front of my dad jumped up to kill him, and thankfully for that chiropractor, the chiropractor said, my mom gets up and says, "Oh my God, I feel like the life has come back into my body." So I think because she said that, we averted a homicide indictment from my dad that day. And here's the big thing, and this is what I say to chiropractors, just how big this idea is. That chiropractor, totally, my mom was like better within a day or two. It was unbelievable, and she had been months and months and out. And that chiropractor could have said, "Great, glad to hear it. Hey, when you're hurting again, come back and see me." He didn't do that. He said, "That's great. When can I check your children?" And my mom said, "What are you, crazy? Like, why would you check my children? They don't have back pain or neck pain or bilateral bursitis." And he said, "Tell me a little bit about the health of your children." She says, "Well, my son Liam has had pneumonia now 3 times. He's constantly sick. We're constantly taking antibiotics." He said, "You mind if I check him?" And so he checked my atlas. I think at the time he noted that we were in Freehold, New Jersey. My atlas was living in San Francisco, California. It was so far out. And he adjusted that. And, there's a famous book by Dr. Fred Barge called Life Without Fear. We became a family that stopped living in fear. We started to live in a world of potential, of optimized potential. And we started to look at our health not as something that you wait until everything's gone haywire, but something that you do positive action steps every day to maintain and optimize. And we started to look for ways to optimize our health rather than look for ways to get out of pain or get out of a crisis situation. We don't want to be in that pain or crisis situation in the first place. Now, we're all going to have that, but the idea is, can we work with the principles of life, what we call Palmer's laws of life, or are we going to suffer the consequences of working against those principles? And we're born to be healthy. We're born to function optimally. But I often say to my patients, it really is an amazing thing. When you buy a car, you get an instruction manual. When you buy a refrigerator, you get an instruction manual. When you buy a microwave, you get an instruction manual. When your child is born, they don't give you an instruction manual. They just say, "Hey, when they have problems, come bring them to us and we'll treat those problems. We'll treat those symptoms or those disease processes or those pains," instead of, "Hey, what do I need to do to ensure that this child is expressing their life at an optimal level throughout? What can I do?" We're not told that. We're constantly told, just wait until something goes wrong, or just continually focus on the disease. And I used to hear that the more you focus on disease and symptomatology, the more disease and symptomatology you have. The more you focus on what is it that brings about life expression, what is it that brings about healing optimally, what is it that brings about optimal adaptation. what is it that brings about optimal function? If that's your constant, Dr. Donnie Epstein's another mentor of mine. He says the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. And so the questions that I'm always asking is, how can we do this better? How can we optimize this? Rather than saying, how can I just treat the pain or the symptoms, or look for a level of the Spanish word is alivio, relief. How can I focus on not just getting relief? How can I focus on healing and actually repair and actually optimal function and physiology? And that's been my life's quest in chiropractic. So then I decided to go to chiropractic college after I saw this, and I'll never forget this. I went to I ended up going to Life University in Atlanta, Georgia, and the president at that time was Dr. Sid Williams, and he spoke like a Southern Baptist preacher, when he got up there. And I'm not that guy. Okay, I was a very scientific guy. So like when I first walked into that class and he's talking about the evils of vaccination, I was like, check please, I didn't sign up for this craziness, and so like my whole life has been crazy, crazy, crazy. And it's almost like it's just that crazy that it might work. And Dr. Sid Williams became the greatest mentor of mine. He was the kind of guy that could speak with no PowerPoint, no scripting, for 9 hours, nonstop, and he'd have you in the palm of his hand the whole time. And he became my mentor. He had something like 30 clinics in the Atlanta, Georgia region. He started a program called Dynamic Essentials to share his success principles, with people. And so my trajectory has really been, following his path. What can I do to help chiropractic education improve? What can I do to help chiropractic research improve? What can I do to help chiropractic technique, chiropractic philosophy, all those areas of my life? And I would say too, the business of chiropractic, because this is one of the big challenges that I found, is that chiropractors fail, and it's like Dr. Clarence Gonstead used to say, when the principle doesn't appear to work, don't question the principle, question the application of that principle. And that's what I found, is that there's so many chiropractors that fail, and it's sad, because they say, oh, it's failing because chiropractic doesn't work, or not in my community. My community's different than your community, those kind of things, or it's the economy, or it's the president, or it's the prime minister, or it's it's the Democrats or the Republicans or the Whigs or whoever the hell it is. That's the reason I failed. And I'm going to tell you, my experience has been, it's because you haven't applied the application of the principles correctly. And I think one of the things that chiropractic schools lack tremendously is the ability to take the chiropractic science, art, philosophy, and then meld that into a business system that allows the person to be successful. Because it really doesn't matter how great you are at chiropractic philosophy, how great you are at chiropractic science, how great you are at chiropractic technique. If you can't keep the doors to your clinic open, what value is that to the community that you're serving? And so, those issues, also communication issues, are some of the weakest. BJ Palmer used to say the weakest link in the chiropractic profession is the chiropractic adjustment. And I respectfully have to disagree with that, because I've known so many brilliant chiropractic adjusters. And it's kind of the funny thing in our profession. If I do a chiropractic technique seminar, full house, I'll have 200-300 people. If I do a chiropractic seminar on communication, I'm begging to get 20 or 30 people there. And my experience in life is this: I've known some of the greatest adjusters that go bankrupt. They have so many different techniques. I've never seen a great chiropractic communicator that has gone bankrupt. So it's kind of counterintuitive. People would think what you learn in school, the science, the philosophy, if you're lucky, the philosophy in some schools, the science, the philosophy, and the art of chiropractic, if you learn those three, you should be successful. And I would argue that you need to learn how to communicate that. And I would argue that you need to learn business systems as well. So I think those are the two areas where chiropractic schools lack. That's why I've done a lot of work with Sherman College and their graduates to ensure that that doesn't happen. with a focus primarily on communication, and then how to develop and maintain business systems to grow and scale whatever it is that you have. If what you do is so good, you should be able to grow and scale it. And that's what I learned through, and we'll get into in the interview, but I learned that through a system of trial and error. But today you don't have to do that. There's people that do it all over the world, and you could learn and accelerate your learning process and go from zero to hero in a very quick time, because the chiropractic world today is just abundant in opportunity. The people that are killing it are the ones that that have been smart enough to find mentors that are doing the same.
Nice. Awesome.
So I went I went to chiropractic college, graduated. I wanted to practice in Miami, Florida. I knew to practice in Miami, Florida, it's like a little South America there. You have to be able to speak Spanish. So an opportunity presented itself for me to do an associate position for 1 year in Lima, Peru, for Dr. Walter Sanchez and Dr. Raymond Page. And I went down there, Danny, and I just, to give you a hint for everybody watching this program, when I told people what my plan was, I told family. Are we still on? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We still on, right?
We are indeed.
Okay. I told family. I told friends what my plan was. Do you know, Danny, not one person said it was a good idea. Everybody said it was a big mistake. I was making a big mistake and I should never go. And I the only reason I tell you this is because so many people have a gift that they have inside that they want to get out to the world, and they share it privately with people they love, and people who mean well, but they just don't have the life experience. And those people crap on that dream, and the person never gets to express themselves because they're worried what other people think, and they miss out on opportunities that are in front of them all the time because they're worried what other people think. Thankfully, I've always followed that inner spirit, that inner voice, that voice within. So I just knew this was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And I remember thinking, this is either going to be the biggest mistake I made, or it's going to be the best thing I ever did in my life. And from the moment I arrived in Lima, Peru, and to this day, I mean, this morning I pinched myself because I absolutely love what I do. By the time I was 30 years old, Danny, I never had to work again in my life. And we came from a very poor family, but I work more now than I ever have before because I realize we are on a absolute short leash. You think about it, 40, 50 years from now, Danny, even if we take care of ourselves, you and me are going to be fertilizing, chrysanthemums. So we only have a short period of time to use these gifts and these blessings that we've been given and share them with the world. And so that's what I'm working on doing, obviously with patients, but I'm working also now with other chiropractors so that I can have a even greater impact with all the patients that they're going to see in the future. So I think, we get in this life from what we give. And so I've constantly been focused on, from day one, how can I help? How can I serve? How can I give? How can I love? How can I inspire? And I think if that guides your life, you can't, help but eventually be successful. When we have something, some kind of failure or some kind of tragedy, sometimes my wife looks at me, she goes, "What are we going to do now?" And I say, "We're just going to keep doing the right thing. That's all we can do." And the pandemic was a big test for that, right? What are we going to do now? We're just going to keep doing the right thing. We know the principles. We know what's right. We know what's wrong. We love freedom. What can we do to ensure that exists for everyone, not just for us, but for the people that we're going to leave this planet to?
That's awesome, mate. That's a fantastic journey so far. So you mentioned being in business and learning from some of the greats like Sid Williams. I didn't know he started DE, by the way. I'd heard of DE, but I didn't know Sid started that. That must have been awesome to be mentored so closely by him. In those in the years you've been in business, what are perhaps one, maybe a maximum of three um challenges or disasters or whatever word you want to use that you overcame, and what did you learn from those challenges?
Okay, so the first thing I noticed with successful people and compared to people that are failing and miserable is people that are successful always look at what they have and then they try to develop and scale that. People that are failures or people that are suffering from depression always focus on what they don't have. I don't have this, and that's why I can't be successful. I don't have that. So when I first went to Peru, you have to understand, I didn't speak the language. So they speak Spanish down there. I didn't speak the language. So that's one thing I didn't have, right? There was no such thing as social media, so I didn't have that. I didn't have access to radio and television. And so I said to myself, well, what do I have? And so the primary thing I had was this burning desire. And I think if you don't have this, you've got a major problem in anything that you do. I was listening to an interview with I can't think of his name now, but he invented Starbucks, right? And he said, look, I could do anything in this world. He goes, I do coffee because I freaking love coffee. This is like my passion, is this, getting this Starbucks experience out to the world. I'm not a big Starbucks fan, but I can appreciate what this man says, right? So, he's evidently done something pretty amazing worldwide. So that is the thing. I have that burning desire. I'm totally in love with chiropractic. I'm totally in love with it. Absolutely in love with it. And when you're totally in love with anything, like a great relationship, when you're totally in love with somebody, 1 hour seems like 1 minute, and so that's how I am with chiropractic. I absolutely love the topic. I absolutely love what it does for people, and I absolutely love to talk about it. So I said, okay, I have this burning desire. What do I have? I have a burning desire. I have an objective, right? Think and Grow Rich, the book by Napoleon Hill, says you can have anything in this world if you know one of these two questions, both of them. The first one is, what specifically do I want? And the second is, what am I willing to sacrifice to get what it is that I want? So I knew the answer to both of those questions. And what I wanted was a large practice. I wanted to see 500 visits a week at that time. And so I said, well, what else do I have? I have a burning desire. I know what it is that I want. I have business cards. Those are cheap, right? I have 1,000 business cards. Okay, I have legs. I can walk. I have a voice. I can speak a minimal amount of Spanish. So God knows what I said to people, but I walked and I knocked door to door. I did door-to-door knocking. And I said something like, I'm a chiropractor, spine, I can help you. Like, I'm a chiropractor, spine, I can help you. I'm a chiropractor, spine, I can help you. And so many people said goodbye. I don't want anything. I don't. And the other thing I learned in life is that when you get rejected, don't take it personally. And especially in the world of chiropractic, to me, I'm not afraid of rejection at all, because it's like this. This is the way I look at it. Can you imagine if you had bars of gold and you could just give them away? You had an unlimited amount of bars of gold. And you went door to door knocking and you said, I have a bar of gold I'd like to give to you. And the guy says, this is a scam. I don't want any of this. All right, bye. I wouldn't go, I'm a failure. They won't even accept my bars of gold. I would just go, this person's crazy. This person obviously doesn't understand what it is that we have. And that's how I feel about chiropractic is, oh, you don't want to have optimal functioning, healing, adaptation, and life expression? Cool. I'll go to the next person. Next. And what you'll find in sales, every successful salesperson in life says, they specifically say this, you got to get through the no's to get through to the yeses. And then what starts to happen in that world is you knock on those doors, you knock on the doors. I developed, those few people that came to see me and trusted me. God knows what I said to them. I started to adjust them. And chiropractic is so great that when you start to move those bones and adjust the subluxation, even in spite of your inadequacies and in spite of your lack of experience, and in my case, in spite of my lack of language, people start to get great results in their life. And so what happened was, one of my patients eventually was a radio producer. And he says, hey, would you like to come on the radio? I said, are you crazy? I can't speak Spanish. And he says, no, you speak okay. So I go on the radio, and I started to get people coming in from the radio. And I remember this. I sent one of the things I always do to improve my speaking, and I'll do the same thing with this program, is I watch myself again, and then I take notes on what I did wrong, what I did right, what I could improve on. And so I sent that audio to Dr. Walter Sanchez, and I said, could you review it and tell me what you think? And he says, I didn't understand a damn word you said. He goes, but I wanted to come see you because of the passion that you had. Because whatever you were doing, it was called chiropractic. I got that, and it had something to do with the spine, and you could help people. But you were so passionate about it, I wanted to come see you. And that's another lesson, big life lesson that I learned. You know, so many people go through life almost dead. I mean, almost with a lack of, and especially you see it in practice a lot of times when I watch doctors of chiropractic. They go through these repetitive adjustments. It's almost like they're just moving bones, you know? And what I say is you got to understand what you're really doing, and you got to get excited about it. When you do that specific scientific chiropractic adjustment, you are releasing that powerful rivulet of force from the brain to the tissue cell and from the tissue cell to the brain. You're restoring that person's optimal capability to heal, function, adapt, and express their life. That's a really big deal. You know, they talk about the big idea in chiropractic. Optimal life expression is a really big deal. So when you are in my chiropractic practice, you'll hear things like, wow, phenomenal. That was great. Awesome. Oh, I love that. You know, and so it's like, you know, people are waiting in the waiting room going, what's going on in there? You know, and some people are going, I can't wait to get in there, you know? And that's because we're congruent with what we say chiropractic is and with what we're doing in chiropractic. And I think, you know, so often our profession suffers a great deal because, you know, we're really, BJ Palmer said, you know, no man can anchor to an unanchored mind. And we're really not these rocks. You know, St. Peter said, upon this rock, I build the church, right? You know, this idea is you got to be rock solid in what it is that you do. And you're going to come across what I call a lot of lunatics. You know, if you think about it, the average person, this is one of the reasons I love going to chiropractic seminars. The average person is crazy to me, right? The idea that injecting yourself with toxins and taking toxins via oral or whatever route you're taking them, that's going to somehow produce optimal life force, that seems totally insane to me. So I go to chiropractic seminars to get around other people that are solid on the principles of chiropractic and remind us that what we're doing is so phenomenal and that there's a desperate need for it in the world, that the vertebral subluxation is something that's epidemic. I mean, it's something on an epidemic level. It's something that every single human being has during the course of their life. And it's something that only you're the only professional in the world that's highly trained to detect, analyze, and adjust vertebral subluxation. So that is a big deal. You know, when I go anywhere in the world, I look around and I say, I can help you, I can help you, I can help you, I can help you. So that makes you immensely powerful, that no matter where anybody is in their life, you can help to optimize that. What is that worth? And that's the thing. We've forgotten. We've relegated our own selves, really, in some ways in the educational institutions, that we're some kind of musculoskeletal or musculoskeletal, as you might say, musculoskeletal treatment. How freaking boring is that? Like, I mean, I'm sure it helps people, of course, but that's not what that's like the tip of the iceberg to what chiropractic does. It really does restore people's lives. And you know, the other benefit, when I went down to Peru, I had just come out of student clinic at Life University. And if you looked at my waiting room at any given time, 90% of the people there would have had to been referred out. Like they would not have been under chiropractic care in the clinic, because we would have had to refer them out. And that was the other benefit I saw, working with extremely sick people. And this is why chiropractors aren't so powerful in their self-esteem and their mindset yet, because they don't work with truly sick people. They're only working with people with back pain, neck pain. Oh, I got a herniated disc. But if you work with really sick people, you're going to see some really sick results. And I mean, like, sick as in sick is great, you know, like really amazing results. And I think that's the thing that another tremendous benefit of going down and working in Latin America was that, and my associates still say it today, it's like, man, I did not realize how powerful chiropractic was until I started to work with really, really sick people. And what a shame, because in the student clinic, all we're working with is back pain and neck pain, and everybody else we're referring out into the system, you know, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, concomitant referrals, you know, like working in we work all the time with medical doctors, you know, they work on the medical needs of the patient and we work on the chiropractic needs of the patient. But this idea of, sorry, I can't help you because you've got a disease or a thing that needs medical treatment, that's ridiculous. We should everybody can benefit from an optimized nervous system. So I forget where I was going with the question, but I think the question was something about what were the blockages? My blockage was I didn't know the language and I didn't know, and nobody knew who I was. And so the way I solved that was I was fearless. I was passionate about what I was doing. And I just looked at it from a numbers status. The more people that get to know who I am and what I do, the more people there are going to be and that like me, they're going to be in my clinic. And I say to young doctors that graduate all the time, can you imagine this? Whatever town you're going into, because again, the new graduate goes, oh my gosh, how am I going to compete? There's guys that have been here 20 and 30 years. Yeah, but they're lazy now. They don't do anything. You as a new practitioner have that youthful energy. You can get out there and try to meet. I had down, try to meet 10 people, try to meet 20 people, try to meet 30 people a day. Get yourself uncomfortable, but start doing it because you know what you have can save these people's lives, can optimize their lives. And get out there and start talking to people. And then when you get on another level, you start identifying who are the influencers in the community. Like if I talk to a priest and he knows that I'm great, now how many people does that priest interact with? Tons. If I talk to a politician, a mayor, for example, of the town, and he knows I'm great, how many people does he interact? If I talk to the chief of police and I tell him all about what I do and I offer him some of my services, how many people does he know? And so that's when you start to really exponentialize your impact, is by working with the influencers within your community. But at first, if you're unknown, just start knocking door by door, start talking. I would go to the supermarket with my cards and I would just flip up a conversation. Oh, boy, I can't believe the price of chicken. By the way, my name's Liam Schubel. I'm a chiropractor in town. What do you do? Oh, I work here, in the meat department. Great. Hey, what do you recommend here? What's the best thing that you have going on? And you start talking to people as a human. And then, and here, by the way, here's my card. There's a special offer on it. It's good for 1 week. If you know anybody that needs that, I'd love to have the opportunity to serve them. It was great meeting you. And now I'm good friends with the chicken guy, right? Like now he knows every time I come in what to recommend for me. And that's just how life works. The more people show me the length and scope of your network. I'm going to show you what your net worth is. That people of the highest net worth know the most people in their network. So that was like a one of the first challenges I got in practice and overcame, was that being unknown.
Yeah, good. Nice. That reminded me, I did something very, very similar when I was an associate early in my career, knocking on doors, getting a lot of doors slammed in your face, and occasionally people, being a bit rude, let's say. And I just had to constantly remind myself, pretty much like you described there, NEXT. Go to
Exactly.
the next door, knock on the next door. And it did generate some clients, but more than anything, what it generated in me is that resilience.
Great point.
That, like, do you know what? I mean, I would never say at this point in my life that I like rejection, but I'm not scared of it.
Right.
So it taught me so much. And you were talking about the multiple practices you've got. I think it's over 30, isn't it, in Peru? And you mentioned a little bit about being on the radio. I believe you've been on TV a lot, haven't you? And how did that transform things when you got on there?
Yeah, correct. So I have 33 practices now in 3 different countries: Peru, Colombia, and the Dominican Republic. It's funny, I live in New Jersey, right? So my closest practice is I think a 5-hour flight from me. So again, business systems allow you to be able to do all that. But yeah, television was wild. And here's how I got on television. I developed a strategy where I receive the Journal of Vertebral Subluxation Research, JVSR. I receive, I'm a member of that. I subscribe to Chiropractic Research, and they send you studies every week about how chiropractic affects different things. So chiropractic and migraines, chiropractic and menstrual problems, chiropractic and headaches, whatever it is. And so what I would do is I would take those scientific studies and make them into a press release. And how do I figure that out? You Google, how do you write a press release, right? So I take that, make a press release, and then what I would do is I would identify my target audience. What radio programs, what television programs do they listen to? So identify all those. And do they have spaces there for health professionals? Identify all those. And then I find out who's the producer of each one of those programs and what's their contact information. And usually there's an email there. So you just send an email every single week. And I would send the email out and no response. Send an email out, no response. Send an email out, no response. Well, one day I sent an email out that had to do with chiropractic and asthma. And obviously, chiropractic is not a treatment for asthma. But what we find is when we remove interference in the nerve system, coincidentally, so many kids with asthma, now they don't have asthma. So this producer had a kid who had asthma. And so this was something of interest to him. So he had me on the program. And I'm going to tell you, it was insane because this is before social media that I started in television. I could not, I was almost scared to death to go on television again because there were so many new patients after that. I mean, that's when I started to say, I got to bring more associates in. I need help here, And so that's what caused me to start to grow and scale it. Surprisingly, now I still do television because their ratings go up every time I go on the program because I'm fun. I like to have fun. I'm not the boring, like, okay, this is what we're talking about today. It's people like to be entertained and edutained, right? And so I do that. So now I go on television, but the response is not as overwhelming as it used to be. A very good social media program, will help you much more than traditional media will now. But I find also that being on television, you can use that stuff, cut it up and dice it, and it gives you a certain level of cultural authority because you're on television. People have this idea of if the person's on television, they must be good. They must be an expert on what they're doing. So I still recommend that people go on television and get on television, but it's not as effective as for bringing in new practice members in that essence as it used to be. And so that's how it started to happen. I mean, I was on television so much that I remember when my parents were down in Miami and they went to use a credit card, and the lady said, "Are you related to Dr. Schubel? He's that famous chiropractor, in Peru." So it was pretty amazing. Still to this day, when I get on the plane to go to Peru, all of a sudden I'm a celebrity. So it's really nice. I get celebrity status on the plane when I'm in Peru. A lot of times I go through customs and immigrations. And, oh, hi, Dr. Schubel. Nice to see you. So I get the royal treatment when I'm down there, restaurants, things like that. But then I get to come back to the United States where I'm a nobody again. So it's great. I still have that certain level of anonymity that Tom Cruise can't afford.
Nice, love it. So, talking about your practices in Peru, I had a guy who used to be an associate for you on the show the other day, Connor Ward.
Oh yeah, Connor. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't realize until that podcast that he'd worked with you. He had a great experience out there. He
Yeah.
had nothing but praise to tell me about that. So, are you like I would imagine like most chiropractic business owners, you're constantly recruiting associates. Is it a similar situation in Peru for you and the other countries as well?
Yeah, so we're in Peru, the Dominican Republic, and Colombia, and yes, we're constantly interested in recruiting, top shelf doctors to work in those practices. We have a great deal of our chiropractors right now are graduating from the schools in Mexico. There's 4 different schools in Mexico. Also, we have Argentinian chiropractors. There's one really good school in Argentina. And then we have some Brazilians as well. There's a few schools there. Um, and we've had people from all over the UK, from different parts of Europe, from Australia, New Zealand, and a lot of Americans and Canadians working with us. And again, it's just it is chiropractic mastery through absolute immersion. I mean, it is you succeed or fail. There's no in between. So it's definitely not for everybody, but it's for somebody who wants to choose to live their life for something greater than themselves. And if you're about short-term gains, probably wouldn't recommend it. But if you're about the long-term gain, in my view, it's priceless, and that is what we still work. And if anybody's interested, the webpage, if you ever wanted to apply, is Equipo Schubel. So Equipo is the Spanish word for team, EQUIPO, and then Schubel's my last name, all one word. Equipo Schubel, SCHUBEL.com. So www.equiposchubel.com if you're interested in applying to associate with us. And it's really an experience that will transform and evolve your lives. But you have to make that jump into the unknown. Just like everyone told me it was the biggest mistake I made in my life. It turned out to be the greatest.
It's funny, isn't it? Most successful people have had a similar experience in terms of most of their loved ones, quote unquote, have told them it was a ridiculous idea. So yeah, good on you, and good on everybody who's been successful, because they always have to kind of go against the naysayers, don't they? Awesome.
That's exactly, Danny. That's why I wanted to share it, because there are so many people that have great ideas that could transform the world, and they don't operate on them because the people they truly love the most and they respect the most are telling them don't do that. But I would say, yeah, to be successful, we're all given this gift of life. And each one of us are here to express our personal gifts. My gifts are different than yours, right? And that's a great thing, right? Because if we were all the same, how boring would the world be? And we'd have no solutions to most of the problems. So every person has this tremendous gift. And I think our goal as parents, for example, is to allow that gift to express itself. I never pushed, you're going to be a chiropractor because I'm a chiropractor, on my kids. I said, you're going to be yourself. And you with me still?
I am indeed.
Yeah, you're going to be yourself. And the goal in this life is to be the best version of yourself.
100%.
That's the goal. So one of my children is in real estate. Another one is in marketing. Another one is expressing interest in chiropractic. And the other one I think is it just likes hanging out with mom and dad right now. So I just want them to be the best version, and I know that they've all been adjusted since birth, and they've been loved, and they've been supported, and they've been told you can do anything that you want to do in this world if you know what it is specifically and you're willing to sacrifice. That's the message I have for everybody.
That is awesome. As always, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, mate. Where, in addition to the website you mentioned earlier, if someone wants to reach out to you and ask you questions about other parts of your business or just connect with you, where's the best place for them to do that, mate?
Yeah, great. So just so you know, I have two books. One is called Cast to Be Chiropractors. You mentioned it at the outset. So if you really want to read a little bit and get to know what I'm about, Cast to Be Chiropractors talks about the mindset of a successful chiropractor. That's one area where I see a tremendous amount of difficulty. And if you want to get an idea behind my business mind, check out the book Schubel's Holy Grail of Chiropractic Business. And that will give you the first book is I wrote for the why. And the second book is the how you actually start to implement business systems to grow and scale your practice. Now, if you're the type of person that wants some mentorship, great. We have a program called Schubel Vision Elite, SchubelVisionElite.com. So it's just my name, SchubelVisionElite.com. And you can connect with me there. If you want to send me off an email, I'm at liamschubel@gmail.com. Happy to receive your email. And, sometimes people say, Doc, I know you're busy. I'm sorry to bother you. Listen, to me, it's an honor. When you ask me a question, Danny, it's an honor to be on this program. When you sent me this message, yes, I'm busy. Yes, I have a lot of things to do. But you know what? I've been very blessed in this life. And I think my dad once said, when you receive a lot of blessings, you have a moral obligation to share those blessings with the world. So I'm honored by people asking for help and asking for advice and asking for mentorship. I'm always happy to step up. And so feel free to reach out to me in any one of those ways.
That is awesome, mate. Thanks again, and I look forward to having you on the show again for another episode in the near future, mate. All the best, mate.
All right, Dr. Danny. Thank you. Appreciate you. And thank you for everything you do. It's really great that people can know that they're not alone, that we're all in this together, and we're going to optimize the full expression of life in this world. Come hell or high water, Danny, we're doing it.
Good man. You've been listening to Dr. Danny Scahill on the Chiropractic Mindset Mastery Podcast, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. All the best, guys. Take care.
You've been listening to Dr. Danny Scahill on the CMM Podcast, where we help you grow your business without killing yourself. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and more. Check out our free masterclass on chiropracticmindsetmastery.com.